Copying module events to the next year. So this short video, which follows from the other videos that I've issued, will just show you how to take all of your events from the current academic year and copy them forward for the next academic year. So if we open Google Calendar here, and as I showed in the other videos, if you right click on the tab at the top, you can always duplicate that tab, just meaning that any changes to the way you view your calendar will leave the original view intact if you prefer. You don't have to. Okay, so there's the calendar. Here's the current view, and what I'm going to do now is take a module and start copying some of those events into the next academic year. So if I scroll down, and I'll find ARC 6843, which is the module that I'm going to copy. Now, first thing is, I'm not calling this module calendar by a specific year, and for this to work effectively, we need to we need to avoid making lots of new calendars. The problem with having a module calendar with the year in the title is that you then have to make a new calendar every year, and any permissions you set for that calendar in terms of who has access to it, who can edit it, would all have to be redone. And also, where you have calendars linked, so for example, where you have a module calendar which is linked into a program calendar, if we're making new calendars every year, then all of those links have to be redone. So that would really be a very inefficient way of working. So I believe a much better way is simply to have a module calendar which does not have a specific year in the title. Okay, and I'll show you how to work with that. Equally, the program, which in this case is MSc SAS, should also not have a specific year assigned to it. And what we do is we simply keep the same calendar year after year, and new events will be added to that calendar. Now, if the only concern I could see there is maybe if people are worried that students can look at events from the previous year in the calendar. Now, I find it highly unlikely that students would bother looking a year ago. We could always delete old events if we wanted. The other, I forgot to say, the other important reason why we need to not create new calendars every year is that when you have embedded a calendar into Mole, or when you've perhaps added a calendar to your own Google Calendar, or you've added it to your, let's say, to your mobile phone, then if we create new calendars every year, that all has to be redone. And all of those Google Calendars embedded into Mole will be showing the wrong year. They'll be showing the previous year. So I really think that's not the way to work. Okay, so on with the demonstration. To make things clearer for myself, what I want to do now is just look at this calendar. So if I click on the little drop down button here, we can click on display only this calendar. So that will show only that calendar. That's a quicker way than manually switching off all the other calendars. And we're going to use the agenda view up here. So we'll click on that, and that will show us a list of all the events. Now at the minute we can't see anything because we're not looking at the correct date range. And you do have to just tell Google Calendar what dates you want to display. Now the way I'm going to do this here is just to scroll back to the beginning of the previous academic year and select a date back in September, and that will now show all of the events in that calendar. You've also got these arrow buttons over here which will sort of move forward and backwards in time, and you've also got this little button here, look for earlier events or look for more events at a later date. Okay, So using the agenda view now, as you can see, I've got a fairly neat list of all the events in this module from the current academic year. And if we have a quick look at one of those, let's look at this one here. Click on edit the event for a bit more information. And what you'll see there is we've got the event. That event is invited to the speaker, which in this case is Abigail. So she's got that calendar invite. It's also linked to the MSc SAS calendar. So it's automatically connected into the MSc SAS calendar. When we duplicate this event, those links will remain intact, so you don't need to do that again. Okay, let's just go back. And as you see here, we've got that information summarized briefly as well. Here, Abigail and MSc SAS calendars copied in. We've got these two buttons at the top, expand all, which will expand all the events, and collapse all. Okay, so just a few little navigational items there. So let's start the process of duplicating these events into the next academic year. Now, I think it only takes for a module probably no more than 20 or 30 minutes to do this, and bearing in mind that if you were not doing this through Google Calendar, if you're doing this in a chart or a spreadsheet, you've still got to go through this process of updating your lecture events, because obviously the dates that you put in your module handbook will be incorrect otherwise. I believe this is the quickest way of doing it and has all the benefits that it's linked into the calendars. Okay, let's get on with it. So let's go to the first event, module introduction. We'll click on that and we'll edit the event. Okay, and what I'm going to do is duplicate that event. So I've made a duplicate copy of that event. It's in exactly the same date at the moment, and it's invited to exactly the same guests, which in this case is Aidan Hoggard, because he's giving the lecture, so it will appear in my calendar, and it's also copied into the MSc SAS calendar, so it will automatically be linked into that calendar. Now we need to change the date. So we've got the date box here, and a number of ways of doing this. You could simply scroll through month by month and find the new date, or slightly easier maybe if you delete the 5 of 2015, change that with 2016 and hit return. That's copied the event to the 9th of the 10th 2016, but obviously because the way the calendar works, that will not be on the same day of the week. So what you need to do there is just go back and have a quick check, and in this case I need to put it back to the 7th. Presumably that's because we've got a leap year this year. I think that's right. Normally it's only one day. So that's done. We can click on that just to check. It's on the 7th of October 2016, which is correct. And the process here in terms of requesting a room booking, which I've agreed with Annabelle, is what we need to do here is delete out the actual room name, because that's not confirmed yet, and simply put in your requirements into there. So I'm going to write 60-seater LT for lecture theatre, and that's going to tell Annabelle that I need a 60-seater lecture theatre. And what Annabelle will do is, once that room, or a lecture theatre has been reserved and booked, she will delete out 60-seater LT and replace that with the actual room. Okay, so by following this process, you know that until there's a correct room in there, then nothing is booked. Okay, as soon as you see a room typed into that box, you know that that room has been reserved for you. Okay, that's it. Hit save. just collapse that. Now I can't see that new event at the moment because I'm not looking far enough into the future here. If we click on look for more and just go forward a bit in time, there's that event, Friday the 7th of October, module introduction, AH. Okay, let's just go back and do one more. Just using the arrows over here on the right to go back to the beginning of this module. So let's take the next event, edit that. Now, of course, while you're doing this, it's also your opportunity as module leader to, check your events, check if you're changing anything, which I think is good practice anyway. Okay, do it again. Duplicate the event. Change that to 2016. Check that. It's put it onto Sunday the 9th, which is obviously not right. Move that back to the 7th. Okay. Change this for 60-seater lecture theatre. Everything else is unchanged and correct. So hit save. Okay. And you can just see here actually, there's the event in 2015 and there's my duplicated event in 2016, so in the next academic year. Let's just have a look at that. We'll go into a week view and let's go to that date, which was, what was it, 7th of October. There were those two events. Let's just switch on, well, first of all, I'm going to switch on my calendar, and you can see that they are correctly or automatically added to my calendar. And if we switch on the SAS calendar, you can see that they are automatically added to that SAS calendar. So, that's the kind of process finished. Okay. So I'll stop there. I think it's it's pretty quick. As I say, I would anticipate you should be able to do a whole module in 20 to 30 minutes. Watch my other video which shows you how to then extract that information into a format that you can put into your module handbooks, which again saves you having to manually create a sort of a schedule.